What is going on, everybody? I wanted to just do a little bit of an intro and a little bit of a preface before we hop into the podcast today with our guest. I really wanted to do a podcast with this guest because I thought that there was some good information and good topics that he was talking about. What we originally talked about in the podcast before, it's something that we're probably going to go a little bit deeper on, is the idea of competing at our lower levels, right? Like our white belt and blue belt. And I think that there's like an over fascination of what can be accomplished or what can be done through these tournaments, when in actuality, it's just a fun way to go and meet some people and to go and test out your techniques and to go see what you're capable of and to see where you're at, in hopes that one day you can long-term build your game to the point where you can express your game in a place where it's actually going to matter. I reached out to a few people to try to get some guests on. We have ourselves like a nice purple belt. I believe he teaches some classes, teaches some kids classes. So this is definitely going to be more for the people that are like on the lower rank, white belt, blue belt, that are, maybe wanting to get a little bit of an inspiration to start getting towards that purple belt. I think this is where we're going to have a nice conversation today about some cool things. And I'm definitely really looking forward to having him on. Before we get on to it, though, what I will just say is, if you are someone that thinks, I got to go and like kill at these competitions or whatever, you may not enjoy what we're going to talk about. There's definitely going to be a little bit of humility and humility in the conversation. So I much so look forward to it. I'm excited for you guys to listen in. Thank you for listening in. Thanks for coming on. And I definitely appreciate Jason coming on here. And if you guys want to support the podcast, the best way to do that is through the Patreon down below. But without further ado, I hope you guys enjoy the show.
Hey,
there you go.
what's going on?
What is up, brother? How you doing?
Feeling a little rough today. Had the two crazy rolling sessions. Like last night, I had like 9 matches, and today I had like another 4 or 5. So I'm feeling kind of beat up.
Did you compete? Matches? Did you compete?
No. It was okay. So my instructor got his black belt last night at.
Oh, that's awesome.
And so it was a big seminar. Like there's like 5 promotions going on for black belt last night, and my coach was one of them. And then after that, we ended up having a large rolling session after that. So yeah. Oh, yeah. And then that seminar I had today, we had some more rolling after that. So yeah.
Did you went to a seminar today?
See everyone. Yeah. Yep. Kudos.
There may be a little bit of a disconnection because right now your camera is frozen. Can you maybe like turn your Wi-Fi off, or?
Oh yeah, I can turn my Wi-Fi.
Sometimes,
sure.
It will kind of connect to your Wi-Fi and then it kind of freezes things up.
Oh sure. Yeah, let me try it really quick. Hope I don't leave. All
right. Oh, why did it freeze like that? That's so odd.
Okay.
There you go.
That's probably
better. Now I can see you. All right, fucking perfect, man. That's awesome.
Dude, you would think Wi-Fi would work better.
You would think, right? But it's always like when you're just right outside the house and it like just barely connects. That's what the most annoying thing about this.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, if it's better, I can definitely jump inside the house and do
that. Right now you're good. So
no, cool. Awesome.
We're straight, bro. Did you go to a seminar today? Was that something that was like a special thing, or was that in relation to the belt promotion?
No, it was I think it was just kind of like one of those things where it was like back to back. It was just happened, or belt promotion. Then Caputo came and did his seminar, and it was a really good seminar. It was all footlocks. So it was just a simple straight footlock, but it was like a variation.
What are you more of, a gi or no gi guy?
I'm both, actually. I love them both for different reasons. It seems kind of weird because so if I had to pick one, it would definitely be gi. I just like the concept of it. I like the fact that you can grab on, but I'm better at no-gi for some reason. Like if I'm competing, I'll do better in my no-gi brackets than I do in my gi brackets.
Oh, ain't that interesting?
Yeah, for sure.
So I was always really big into no gi.
Okay.
I still did gi as well, but I actually did 8 months of no gi, like when I first started training before I ever even put a gi on. So I was really big into no gi, and I started training in the gi more so recently, and it's actually like a lot of fun. I've been having like a lot of enjoyment with it. I feel like I've been experiencing like a good carryover where I feel like the grips and like the conditioning of the gi kind of has been like transmuting into no gi. So
Yeah, it complements each other. I believe that if you do both, your jujitsu is gonna just skyrocket because
yeah,
you can still do no gi grabs and gi and still and let that bleed into your gi. Uh, it's unbelievable how many grips and like transitions you can do in gi, but you can't always get that in no gi because you it's it's like if you have honestly like I'm kind of losing my train of thought here, but I feel like no gi can be transferred easily into gi than rather than gi into no gi
gi into
because
no
you can
gi.
move a lot quicker. Yeah, because you can move a lot quicker. You got a lot more space in no gi, and then when you really start ramping it up, and both you guys are starting to get sweaty, then it's harder to hang on, and then you got
Oh
to try a
yeah,
whole different
that's when
game.
the fun starts. When it starts to become like a
Yeah,
sweaty rolling match. In the gi though, just the fact that there's like 1,000 different grip variations just adds like a whole
right.
level of complexity, which I think is fun.
Yeah,
I mean, like you definitely see
absolutely.
a lot of people nowadays like, oh, gi or no gi, whatever. But I guess unless like, oh, I have 80cc coming up, maybe do more no gi. I think it is fun to do both. I've been really open to
Yeah,
the idea of doing both. But hey, so
right.
tell me, like, where are you currently training at, and where are you
Um,
from?
so I'm from Waupun, Wisconsin, and I train at Silverback Jiu Jitsu. Scott Rufus is my coach, and has his he's been open for 4 years, I believe now. And it's a small town, and it's one of the best jiu-jitsu places around. I've been training there for probably 2 years, going on 2 years
Oh,
in August. Yeah.
okay. So you didn't start there.
No. I had a different. I
You're a
started.
creant.
Yeah. So
We could jam on that, man.
yeah, for sure. So I was at another school, and this school was more of a self defense, like an old Gracie type school, where it was like all about self defense and everything else. But when I started doing competitions, um, I started really getting more interested in that. So my focus got changed to being competition driven.
And were you
So
starting to do competitions while you were at the combative school?
yes,
Okay.
yeah. Uh, so as soon as my competition interest started peaking, I was like, okay, I'm really starting to get serious about this. I want to do worlds, I want to do pans. So I talked to my coach, and he goes, well, you can do those things. That's great. Uh, you know, but it's like, well, we're more of a self-defense, and we don't really focus on tournaments and stuff like that. So I'm like, okay. So I realized that Scott was, or my coach, Scott Rufus, he was more tournament driven. And I just felt that my goals would be better met at this gym. So I switched.
Yeah. Good on the first guy. He seemed quite honest about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But before we go into even on that detail, like something I like to do with the theme of the podcast is when I have somebody on is we just kind of like to share the journey of from white belt day one, what got you interested in joining to like where you're at now, which I believe you're a purple belt, correct?
Yeah. I literally received my pro belt like a month ago.
Oh, fucking awesome, man. Congrats. It's probably a
Yeah.
trip.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. It was a big surprise. I did not know it was going to happen.
Yeah.
So here we go.
All right, so let's recap the journey then. Like, what was it that even like intrigued you about wanting to join jiu-jitsu, even like before the
So I naturally wanted to just join martial arts for self-defense. And when I was in driving by Third Heaven, my first uh, school, I ended up going in and just doing kickboxing. And I started doing kickboxing. And then when
Wait, so why kickboxing? Like, what made you be like? Firstly, like, what was it that like got you in? Was there like because I'm always really interested in like what motivates us to do things,
Sure.
and like, what did something was there? You can share to whatever extent of depth that you would like, but like, did something happen that kind of was like the catalyst to you wanting to join, or was it something that you like always wanted to do and you finally just grew a pair and decided to join? Like,
Well, it goes back to my childhood. Listen, Ninja Turtles was huge for me. I always liked like blood sport and stuff like
Ninja
that.
Turtles.
Yeah, and like the original Power Rangers, So
Yes, that's where I got named the Red Mighty Morphin Power Ranger. That's how I got my name. Oh.
That's awesome. I lived out in the country, so I would have like sticks, and I'd be like, oh, these are my size. This is my bow staff, and I would just run around,
Oh God, that's fucking great.
Yeah, literally kicking trees, pretending I got like a group around me, and I'm like,
oh my God, it's so funny. I used to do the same exact thing when I was like 8 years old, and just have like imaginary like fights.
Absolutely. So I've always wanted to do martial arts. And so I don't know, man. I just my parents, we didn't really have a lot around. Maybe we had like a karate school, but I don't know, karate wasn't really interested. So like
Did you ever try it?
I have not, no. But I felt like kickboxing.
I'll save you some time. I tried it, it was shit.
Yeah, that's what I hear. I love it. So, and honestly, I started literally like I said 4 years ago. That's incorrect. It was 5 years ago I started doing this. So kickboxing was it. I was like, sweet, I get the kick and punch, sweet. But then someone after the class goes, so why don't you try jujitsu? I'm like, okay. So at first I was kind of hesitant on it because it's close body contact. I'm like, I'll just get away from the guy, just run. And he goes, but what if you can't?
Yeah, just stand up.
Yeah, just stand up. Yeah, exactly. He goes, but what if you can't? I'm like, what do you mean? What do I can't? What if I can't? I'll just punch him. You're like, no, man. If he gets you down and you're on the ground, what are you gonna do? I'm like, okay, dude. My first match with someone, it was mind blowing because I was like, I can't move, and I was using all my strength. I was brute force right off the gate, like, and I was dying, and they're just sitting there, just not even panting.
Barely even.
So, yeah, barely even breathe. I'm like, this is amazing. So I kept on going and kept on going and kept on going, and eventually, when I started realizing I can actually do this, it was I literally broke the brake off and fell to the floor all the way. So, and it's changed my life big time.
Yeah, jiu-jitsu is great. And just to share like how I got into it. So I got into it originally from like the catalyst was like me and a girlfriend, we broke up, and I was like, I want to like do something cool, like to like get my mind off of things. And I joined like an MMA gym and got really into like jiu-jitsu right off the bat. So I go into this first class and it's like a wrestling class. Great way to start. It's like these two other gyms, they're blue belts, and they just fucking put me to work. Like they just wrestled, and like I remember I showered afterwards, and then I just was in the shower and I started thinking like, what if these people like genuinely wanted to hurt me? Like, what if I was out in the street and like someone like that just wanted to hurt me? Like that would be like the worst thing ever. And I literally went from the gym to a sporting goods to go and pick up boxing equipment because I knew I was like, I gotta start doing this consistently. Like,
oh, absolutely, yeah. And going back to that, it's to the whole why I did it, mostly for self-defense. Before I even did jujitsu, dude, seriously, I would walk around and go, oh, I could beat him up. I could beat him up, dude. Now it's like, I don't even want to do any of that. I just want people to leave me alone. There's
like no reason for fighting.
No. I don't have that urge to prove myself because if if I got into an altercation, I know, you know, I can handle it to, you know, to a certain extent. You know, there's different levels that you would get into that maybe jujitsu won't be available for if he has a gun. You know what I mean? You know, that's what I'm saying. So,
yeah. And just to go off topic for a moment, have you ever had to use jujitsu in the street? Like, have you ever?
I have not yet. No, thankfully. And I pray, I hope I never have to, you know, but if I do, I know it's in my back pocket and I feel safe. I walk taller knowing I know jujitsu.
It's wild, man. I had to guillotine somebody once. It was the only time I ever really did jujitsu out in the street. And you know, we were at a bar, and it was like the typical, like, you dap your shoulder into somebody and you turn around and say like, "Oh, sorry about that," and they go like, packed bar. They're like, "Watch where the fuck you're going." Alcohol, just off the breath. Their fist is clenched, and like my instinct took over, and I just like took his head, boom, quick choke.
Nice.
Let go, pushed him off, and he just like stumbled away. And this was like 8 months in.
Yeah.
And I look around, nobody saw a thing. Nothing happened. Nobody saw a thing. And I'm just like, what the fuck just happened? Like, it was the most craziest.
Yeah. Dude, and you both got to go home that night too.
Yeah. And I partied the rest of the night. I went up to my friend and I was like, dude, I just had to like choke somebody. And he's like, "Oh, cool. Let me get you a drink." And this.
let's reward your actions for sure.
So like, tell me a little bit about like maybe like your first 6 months of training. Like, obviously you, we can even start with like when you first started training up until like your first tournament.
Oh, okay. So it was a struggle because I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know how to move my body. Like shrimping, like I didn't know what I was trying to do. And it was a lot of, you know, the common phrase snuggle struggle. Literally, it was, I would be rolling with someone and all we would be really doing, I would just be hanging on. And I would try to be like, trying to do the moves, but I'm like, this isn't working. And people were like trying to teach me and stuff like that. And it was hard for me to grasp right off the bat because I've never done it before, you know. But once I started actually like passing guards and like actually doing it accurately, you know, it took about 3 to 4 months for me to actually clinch onto it. So after that, once I started getting my first like sweep and stuff like that, then I started diving into like YouTube videos and stuff like that, just to get my mind up to date, and also to get going on like catch up to everybody else in the class, you know. So, and I was all brute strength, you know. So so when I started actually getting better, I'm like, okay, this is nice. I went to a tournament, Combat Corner in Milwaukee. First time ever being down there at a tournament, and it blew my mind how many people were there, how many matches were going on consistently. And I look at my my buddy Mike Garamba. He took me down there because he wanted to show me what it's all about. So then I'm like, man, this is awesome. Like, he goes, but this is a different animal. He goes, if you do a competition, it's fast. You don't have time to really think. You just have time to react. He goes, but so if you're going to do a competition, you really got to be ready for it. So I went down there. I watched a couple matches. I immediately signed up for the next one. And when I was getting ready for my competition, I had a wrestler named Tim. He was helping me with takedowns and stuff like that. And then I had kind of a game plan. I'm like, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to win, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I got to my competition and none of that happened.
Yeah, no, it never works the way you want it to.
No, I got smashed and I got beaten so bad. But it taught me a lesson. It taught me a very good lesson. Well, I got taken down, and then like my first match was a no-gi, and this guy was a wrestler, and he just went around me and got like 19-0 on me. Won. I ended up, my second match was gi, because this is like once you're out, you're done type of thing. So then I was on gi, same thing, got taken down, and then I ended up getting a bunch of points scored on me, and then that was it. So then I'm like, okay, that sucked, but I understand that I need to learn how to do competitions because I feel that's a skill set within itself.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So then I got back to Third Heaven, and because I was in my old school's name, Third Heaven Martial Arts. Went back there, started training again, signed up for another. Same thing, just got smashed because I was thinking about my last tournament. Now this is something that I have a hard time dealing with is shutting off the voices in my head. You know what I mean? So when I got smashed again at my second tournament, I'm like, so I got smashed, but I didn't do as bad as last time. So I'm thinking, okay, let me do another tournament. Let's try this out because I'm getting that wasn't as bad. So now I'm on my third tournament, and I think honestly it was an IBJJF Chicago Open. I do believe that's what it was. I went down to Chicago to compete, and I lost again, but it was only like 2-0. So I'm like, yeah, I didn't get wrecked at all. And this is IBJJF.
Sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. But it's the people in the gym. I had a really good support system there with a lot of my at Third Heaven for my tournaments. A lot of people weren't there really to do tournaments. They were just like, we're just hobbyists almost. But we've done wrestling and all this other stuff and different backgrounds. So they were helping me fix my game, if you will. And just after that IBJJF tournament, I was like, you know what, that wasn't that bad. I can do this. So I just kept on competing until I won. And then once I did win, I won my first gi match and my first no gi actual division. So that was
take us back to that really quick. Like, what was that feeling like when you went out there and you like started winning?
So it was at Grappling Industries, okay, and so my first 3 points I ever got was on this guy Matt, okay, and he was bigger. He was like a big 170 because that's my weight division. And when I got that, I'm like, wow, I didn't care about what the end result was. The fact that I looked up and I got 3 points for passing, I looked up and I'm like, I don't care if I win that. I did not. I went for it.
Did he pull guard?
Oh, did he pull guard? It was kind of a weird takedown, like where we both were going down at the same time. And I ended up just getting around his legs and he ended up on his back. So
doesn't know how to score points. Shocker. Okay.
Yeah, but hey, 3 points.
Like, guys don't even know jiu-jitsu. They don't know how to score points, dude. It's so nuts.
Yeah. So like I said, I got my 3 points. He ended up beating me by a submission, but I'm okay with that because it was my first 3 points ever. Here he went on after winning that whole thing. He went on winning worlds, so it was a big 3 points.
Of course.
So then I went on to no-gi, and then I started actually. I was like me and another guy, so it was like a 2-man break. And I ended up winning that. Got first place, and I'm like, I was so pumped, man. I walked off the mat and I looked at the person that was coaching me at that time, and I'm like, oh my god, I cannot believe I just did that. It was a rush, just a big rush. I'm like, I want more of this.
Bro, it's like a fiend thing. Like you can start.
It is.
After a while.
Yeah.
Especially if like the first couple didn't really go your way. And like you kind of just like got wrecked. Like that happened to my first tournament. I had a whole plan. Single leg, we're gonna go into the back, blah blah blah. Dude pulls guard right away, triangles in 40 seconds. Oh well, plan fails.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Mike Tyson says the best. You have a plan till you get punched in the face.
Yeah, man. I think that like as you develop, I think that it starts to become a little bit more important. But I do think in the beginning, like a lot of the time, it's just about like going out there and like flailing around and kind of seeing what happens. Like,
yeah, that's exactly what it is. Because at the end of the day, you were out on the mat, and that's all that matters, in my opinion. Win, lose, or draw, it doesn't matter. You went out, you put everything on the line, and you proved to yourself that you got through a really difficult situation.
Yeah. And I'm sure you can affirm this. This is kind of what I was talking about. And like one of the posts was like, I feel like at that level of like being a white belt, like literally the most important thing is that you're not on the couch and that you just go and do it. Like you
Yeah,
absolutely.
absolutely.
What? Okay, so you win first place white belt. Like,
yeah.
Okay.
So I'm going really getting really serious into my competition. And it was as time went on, like I wasn't winning like all my matches then, like I was winning some, but not a lot. So I felt like there had to be a change in my training, and my approach, because I mean, I would go out there and I would start getting into my head. And this is one thing I did, and I can't, unbelievable. So I would actually look up my competitors just to see what their stats were. And if like 2 wins, 1
That's
win,
the worst thing.
that was the worst thing you can do. I'm like, oh my gosh, because I'd go out there thinking, oh, I got this. Nope. And I lose.
Shit.
Yeah. Like, have you had it where your first match, okay, you're winning and you're up on points, and all of a sudden you do something stupid and you lose by like an advantage, or just a possible, like, sorry, my screen went dim. Where you would just lose for something stupid, just because maybe you shrimped wrong or you hipped out at the wrong time and they swept you. Because that's what happened. I think my first match would be like, okay, I'm winning, I'm up, and then I'm like, what happened? Now I lost because I did something stupid.
That just happened to me too, man. Oh.
Did it? Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, what happened was I did no-gi. I got second in no-gi, and
Okay.
went against the same guy that I ankle locked in the gi. I shoved
Okay.
him. I was about to pass him, and I was already up at points at that. And I was like, I got this. I just beat him. Like I wasn't really impressed.
Yeah.
And I went to go and cut off to a knee cut. And you know how like if you grab like their collar and you pull it in tight when you go to like pass them, for some reason, like I don't know what was going on. I just like let myself just hang out, and he just
no,
went, whoop, belly down armbar. Like, and I was just like, just sitting there like that should not have happened. That was so stupid.
Yeah, for sure. But you know what? What I love about competitions is it's like you get to meet your friends all over again. You know what I mean? Like the people you met throughout competitions before, you can go out, compete with your friends, and there's no animosity, there's no grudge or anything like that.
Sometimes.
Sometimes. Yeah, it's not all the time, but the one thing I also like is if I lose, I've had my competitors come up to me and be like, hey, the reason why I did this and got you in this because you did this. So if you don't do this and do this, you're going to be good. So they help me.
The shocking thing that you come to find is that, like, I feel like unlike in, let's say, like football, where there's kind of like this, like, there's like the shit talking, there's like a little bit more aggression. That's when I played football. Like it was kind of like that. I feel like with jiu-jitsu, at least at like that local level, as long as you're not a dick, they won't be. And I feel like it's mostly just going to be like, hey man, high five, good stuff.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. It's just, it is what it is. You can't have an ego because that's going to get shunned out real quick.
Yeah.
Unless you can back it up, but that's the
Yeah, if you're Gordon Ryan, but there's only like one person who can really do that, right?
That's true. Yeah, let's hand the judges an envelope and then have them open it after the match.
Yeah, that is like some other level like performance. But you'll probably be able to attest to this. Like, I think jiu-jitsu is also really interesting because there's not really anybody that like completely dominates, except for like Gordon Ryan. But you mostly see like anybody can beat anybody.
That's true. Yep. Like recently, okay, so I went to a Grappling Industries, I would say maybe like 6 months ago. And I thought, I'm going to do good. I have a good feeling about this. And I won 2 out of my 6 matches. I just got smashed, you know. So I'm like, okay, it's been a while since we've competed with this whole COVID thing, you know, everything was kind of shut down. So now I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do this again. I'm gonna do it again, and I'm gonna see how this goes. This time, my coach Scott, or my first match, I go, listen, I've struggled with time, hearing the time and the score. I said, don't tell me anything. I said, just let me roll. And this time I didn't look up my competitors. I put earbuds in before my matches. I started listening to music. I did absolutely everything opposite what I normally usually do. And then I won my first match. I was like, awesome, this is good. So then I'm like, okay, that's a good start. So I go off the mat, get ready for my next match. I win that one. I'm like, what is going on here? Like, I'm feeling really good. I went, this is just my gi match. I won 3 out of my 4 gi matches. The only thing that happened with my gi match that I lost is I got locked down, and it was 2-2, and he won by like an advantage because he held me there in half guard, and he had a cross face on me. So, but then I went into no gi, and I got first place in that. So I got second in gi and first in no gi, and that was the best I have ever done. And I was on top of the world.
That's, you know, you actually went out and you had more than one match, right?
Yeah. Grappling Industries is a round robin competition.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I had way more. I had like 8 matches that day. So
that's fun.
Yeah, it is.
I like the round robin with that because it's fun to roll with everybody while everyone's
It is.
all spend money, like, you know, let's get our money's worth. But just to kind of backtrack a little bit, right? So what did you wind up getting, like, where did you wind up eventually getting your blue belt? Like, what was that like, what was that step up for you when you went from like the white belt to blue?
I did get my blue belt from my my old coach at Third Heaven. And when I started competing at blue belt, it was a little bit tougher and tougher and tougher. And like I said, man, I was trying to do competitions, but I just wasn't getting what I needed. I needed to, if I was going to start competing like purple and stuff like that,
you see the difference.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And also I also have went out and searched for other, like, not search for other gyms, but like cross train at other gyms, and I seen a difference. So when you know, when Silverback opened up, you know, I was interested, and I saw what they were doing, and I was a 3-stripe blue belt at this time. So I was at Third Heaven for quite some time before I made the transition. It was hard because I had so many good friends there. I still do, and great guys that just all they wanted to do is help me improve. So it took me a long time to make the decision because of my loyalty to Third Heaven. But when I realized that I need to seriously do this for me. It's not about them. If I want to do good at competitions, I need to have a competition-driven school backing me up on that. And I have a coach that's a multi-world champion. If you want to be a champion, I feel like you have to train with the champions. So I made the decision to switch at 3-stripe blue belt.
I can definitely like vibe with that. Like, I understand what it's like to switch gyms after like a long period of time. Was it something that did you receive like a lot of like animosity for what happened?
No, not at all. I called my coach up and I said, hey, and he kind of knew. The vibe was kind of given where I was like, you know, I really need to train, and like I would ask people to come train, you know, for my tournaments. Maybe like 1 or 2 people would show up or whatever, but I was just, it just wasn't. I didn't feel like it was being taken seriously sometimes, you know, like, oh, it's just a tournament, don't worry about it. But I take tournaments very seriously.
Especially when you start getting up and when you go up in the rank. And you
exactly.
start making goals for yourself, right? Like, I know you mentioned about wanting to like go to Worlds, right? Like, when you start making that goal, like for me, it was, I really wanted to go into ADCC. That's like my long goal for me.
I would love to do ADCC for sure.
You know, I was at this gym. I was at an MMA gym, and you know, it was a lot of just like it became kind of like it was like a circulation of white belts where it was like there wasn't like an intense focus on like one thing. It was kind of, it just kind of started to become like like a little monotonous of the fact of like, what are we going to teach today? Just like whatever we feel like. I just felt like I was getting vibe a little bit.
Yeah, that's the same thing I was getting.
Yeah, and so you could probably understand like when you start cross training, and I started cross training with like some of the DDS guys, and I was like fucking mind blown, like a difference in the training of like what was going on, and I was like, and then eventually I ended up taking the move to Matt trained with Matt Sarah over there, and that gym is
dude, that's awesome.
That gym, I remember like for months I wanted to make the switch, and then I finally just like kind of just did it. And I remember I went from like, you go on the mats and there's like 6 white belts, a couple blue belts, and like a purple belt, to all of a sudden I'm jogging around the mats and there's literally like 8 black belts, like just. That's awesome. And I'm like mind blown, and like, man, that right there like took me like beyond where I ever think of or imagine where I would be at right now. So what was it like when you first started like training there? Was it like how was it for you when you rolled against maybe like their blue belts?
Oh, I was getting destroyed. That was technical, clean jujitsu. It was seriously, it changed. I think my first role changed everything for me. And as soon as I walked in, before I even started rolling, I looked at the wall and I literally saw like medals upon medals that Scott has got, local, international, like worlds, hands. I'm like, this is it right here. And he trains out of a school in Wauwatosa, Wisconsin, called 360 Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. His coach is Scott Houston, and he is an amazing coach as well. So I feel like I got really lucky to be able to roll with a multi-world champion. But yeah, my first roll was I got smashed. And also these guys I'm like a 170 and I'm one of the smaller guys. Like I'm rolling with bigger guys that are like 190, 200 plus pounds. So that I had to change my game, and it taught me a lot, taught me a bunch. And so these guys are amazing people, and I love the fact. I honestly, I don't regret my switch. It's changed everything.
Yeah. On a mechanical level, like a technical level, what did you start to do differently or started to shift when you were at this new gym?
My guard retention got better. Starting to really use my feet and being able to frame and move on a mechanical level. I feel like my closed guard was getting better. I was getting more arm bars. I was getting more triangle chokes. Just by like them showing me, hey, don't put your hand here, put your hand here. Your timing's a little off. If you do this, you can really knock them off base.
And your mouth was watering when they were telling you.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I wanted more, and so I just when I go there, and I still do this when I train, I don't leave there until I have at least 5 or 7 matches, after class. You know what I mean? So I take my jiu-jitsu very serious.
There's also a different level of appreciation when you actually like go through changing gyms and
there is
going from something that's not as serious to something that is more serious. I feel like there's like you like will pay more attention to like what's going on even.
Yeah, absolutely. And they'll actually have where if we're rolling and like my coach isn't rolling, he'll like it's just like 2 guys, right? Everyone's off to the side and it's just one match. He'll start yelling out, "Oh, you got 2 points. Oh, he's got 4 points. He's got your back. Oh, you guys have 1 minute left. Your guys are both tied up. Go." So he really focused on he doesn't force competition, but he highly recommends it. So yeah, you learn a lot about yourself when it comes to switching gyms, in my opinion, and seeing what you really are made of, and are you in it for everyone else or for yourself? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Everyone's on their own journey, and on my journey took me to Silverback, and it's been absolutely amazing.
what was the adaptation like as far as like honing in with your environment? So just to preface like why I asked this question is like, I think a really important part of jujitsu is like being able to have like good teammates, right? Like you're going somewhere, you feel like you're actually like wanted, you have people to like bounce ideas off of, right? Like what was it like adapting to that role? Did you feel like people brought you in? Was there a little bit of like a weirdness at first?
It was a little intimidating because they're, like I said, these are bigger guys, and but I have a friend, Austin, that actually I trained with at Third Heaven. He came over before me, so it was I had a little bit of a connection, but everyone, it was a little intimidating at first. But when I started talking to people and started to get to know them, yeah, it was completely like, hey man, you want to roll? Let's go. Let's train together. And if I had any questions or anything like that, especially during like technique or whatever, because this is a totally different type of training that I'm not used to. They would take the time to show me, and it was very friendly, and very welcoming.
That's so important, man.
Yeah, and they're just like, we just want to see people do jujitsu and be good at it.
Yeah, just improve. That's a good environment, man. And how long did it take for them to give you the fourth stripe? That's when you know you're in.
Yeah, I would have to say it was probably a year, like year and a couple months. And honestly, it sounds kind of bad, but that one stripe meant the world to me because, that I feel like I proved myself that I was good at jiu-jitsu, and I have this world that Scott Rupers to thank for that, because he, I must have did something right for him to go, okay, he's getting better, because I was a mess when I first went in there, but then I started working at cleaning it up, and he's seen the improvements, the dedication. It's not just getting good; it's also the dedication.
Yeah. How often do you usually train? What's your training schedule like?
2 to 3 times a week, and sometimes I have a luxury of being able to go to two gyms, 360 and Silverback, because Silverback's an affiliate of 360.
Oh, cool.
So sometimes I get to go down there and roll with those guys. So yeah, about 2 to 3 times a week, and I get to choose which gym I want to go to. So
that's always fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you get a look. You get you roll with the same guys all the time, right? So it's nice to be able to get a different look with somebody else and outside of the gym. So
I want to attest really quick to the feeling of the fourth stripe on the blue. Yeah. Firstly, I'm sure that was absolutely like crazy because it took you over a year to get a stripe.
Yeah.
And so when I switched over to Sarah's, I was a 4-stripe white belt. And at this point, I was a white belt for almost like 3 years. It was like 2.5 years.
Sure.
And that was a big reason why I left. They're going there, and dude, it was like totally different training environment. And then of course, like I joined at late 2019, and then they were like handing out a bunch of blue belts to like some of my people that I felt that I was like in equal skill to, like other 4-stripe white belts, and they were like, next class we're going to be handing out a bunch more, and because we handed out a bunch today. And I was like, I wonder if that's going to be me. Like, I wonder if they recognize me. COVID shutdown. I'll never know.
Oh, no.
So we had the COVID shutdown. And then the only training that we ended up getting, it was like 2 months off. And then I was traveling to Jersey to go and train in someone's basement because that's all we had. That's all we could do to make it work. And then the only way that you could train at Sarah's was if you did private lessons. And I was lucky. To know somebody. She was like a client of mine, like a personal training client. She was doing privates with Jason Rao, the jiu-jitsu guy, and she invited me to be the uke. So I was getting like free privates essentially. And then I started doing some privates on my own, and that was the only training that I was able to do during the COVID stuff. And then I ended up moving to South Carolina, so I started going to a whole different gym. And it kind of gave me that same vibe as the first gym, like just kind of like, I don't know, it wasn't really like what I wanted. I go back to New York after like a couple months to go visit family for Christmas. I go and train. I'm the last one in the gym with Matt, Sarah, and Jason Rao. Jason Rao pulls out the offer. Matt Sarah's like, wait 1 sec, Jay. And he comes out with the fucking blue belt in his hands. And I was like, oh my God.
That's so awesome, dude.
It was just us in this gym. And I was like, dude, this is like incredible. And so, you know, the gym owner that I was at in South Carolina was not very happy about that. Meanwhile, I just got my belt from Legends, like actual Legends. So I'm gonna rock this thing. Like
I would, for sure, man. That's awesome, dude. That's a good story.
I started going to like a whole different gym now where I'm like super happy. They took me in with open arms. It's like one of my favorite gyms I really train at. Like it is like such a good family environment that I like, and we all compete and we all just try to improve and stuff. And he even recognized like, dude, like you're way over just like the blue belt. And I already got like 2 stripes, and that was just like 5 months ago. So
that's congratulations.
Thank you. It's always a good feeling to see like the hard work recognized, right? So
yeah, absolutely.
So did you compete anymore? Like, so when you started training at the new gym, like, what did you notice in competition?
Well, that's like my last 2. I started competing. Actually, I did 3 competitions at my gym right now. But unfortunately, now I am actually getting my nose fixed because of a very deviated septum, and I'm having surgery on July 1st. So I won't be able to compete or really train so much, but I still plan on going to the gym and watching. And plus, with kids class, I got to go and help with that too. So I just won't be able to do a lot because my nose is going to be all packed with gauze and messed up.
What's the recovery on that like?
A year. So it's going to be
Are you serious? A year?
Yeah. So it's going to be to be 100% healed. Yeah, I am. So I'm going to get surgery done, and then 4 months, if I wear a mask, light drilling possibly, and then the 6-month mark, maybe I can start rolling with like a wrestling mask, a full face mask to cover my nose. But after a year, I'll be completely healed up and ready to go. So.
Oh man, I wish you the best of luck with that, because I'm sure there's some feeling with that. I want
to breathe, so I got to get it done.
Yeah, I mean, oxygen is important, so
yeah, a little bit,
right? So when did you start doing the kids classes? You started teaching at that school?
Yeah. So my first time ever. Well, I've been trying to like get into like a teaching position because I love teaching, you know. And if I'm home, like if I'm working from home, I would text my coach, hey, I'm home if you need help with kids class, blah blah blah, you know, I'm here, you know, whatever. And then one day he called me up, he's like, hey, do you want to help with kids class? I said absolutely, because I'm going to teach them, they're going to teach me at the same time. So I've been doing it for about, I would say 2 months. So I literally just started coaching. And
that was right before the purple.
Yeah, really like recent, like I was, So it was mind blowing because I had to teach class by myself. Like
you weren't even
like
assistant.
I was, I wasn't even like an official. Like I didn't have like any. I don't know if you know, let's say training how to be a coach. I guess just being a coach is the training that you need. Coaching is the training. So I was a little nervous. I got these little kids around me, and I'm
like, how young are these? Like teenagers?
Well, at that time, actually, yeah, they're all teenagers. Well, not all teenagers. I would say like in between teenagers. Like 12 to 13 or whatever. So, but it was a good experience because it built my confidence just a little bit more of knowing teaching and being able to show everybody. And being a coach, honestly, I give a lot of coaches a lot of credit because it's a hard thing to do. It really is.
It's hard to articulate what you know and like transfer it to somebody.
It really is. Yeah, absolutely. Especially when you're by yourself. So I got the experience.
What's it like with the kids though? Do you find it
the 5 and 8 year olds? It's a lot of, hey, stop doing that. Hey, listen. Hey, pay attention.
You ever get this? Wait. So this is like a good inside joke. Like, do you ever get like kids that are like, stop pinching my skin?
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, don't pinch my skin. Yeah, but so they do pretty well during the drilling. What I get excited about is when they start rolling, because then I get to see them light up and just go after it. Some of these little kids are savages. Let me tell you.
Savage as hell, right?
Oh yeah, dude. They're just like literally running at each other and throwing each other around.
Don't you doesn't it like make you think like I wish I was doing that at 5?
Yeah, exactly. But you can definitely see the kids that really take it serious and like actually can't catch on, and that's what makes me go, that is awesome. It fills me with joy knowing that these little kids are actually understanding what we're trying to show and stuff like that.
Yeah. When you're trying to teach a technique to like a younger kid, do you teach it in a similar way as you would to an adult?
Uh, yeah. I try to, because if they don't get it now, they're gonna get it later. Because I could teach them a very simple arm bar, but I make sure that all the technique is there because there's reason behind it. But I also, when I teach, I tell them why I'm doing it. Not, this is an arm bar. You put the hand here, you put the hand there, and then here, and then you apply the arm bar. No, I tell them I put my foot up. And I'm talking about like from closed guard. So
Yeah.
if I put if I put the foot on the hip, it's to to cross his elbow across the center line. And you need that cross, or else it's not, and it's not going to work. You got to break his posture down because if his posture is up, you're not going to get the arm bar. So I tell them the importance of why the particular technique is important to achieve, your submission, or else it's not going to work, and then you're just going to get frustrated and get smashed.
Yeah. There's like a conceptual approach.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure.
That's the best. I think that's like the best way to teach and coach.
Me too, yeah. And you take it slow. And if they're having it, and if I see like they're having problems with it, like if I see a lot of them at a certain point, I'll stop them drilling, and I'll like, let's go over this again. And this time, I want everyone to do what I say. So if I tell them, okay, close your guard. All right, break the posture. Is everyone's posture broken? And then I'll look around and make sure that they're
all do it together.
Absolutely, because it's a team effort. It's a team effort, and it's if you don't have a team effort throughout the gym, it's just gonna fall apart, and everyone's just gonna do what they want. So I just want to make sure everyone's on the same page.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. And so now that you're a purple belt, what, if anything, has there been any significant moments of being a purple belt? And then like tell me a little bit about what some of your goals are like moving forward.
My goals right now, like goals as in like competing wise or just learning wise, or
Be both if there's something to acknowledge it.
Yeah. So my learning wise, me personally, I want to really focus on half guard. I want to open up my closed guard because I feel like my closed guard is at a point where it is my A game at this point, but now I got to really develop a B game. So I feel half guard is my next step, and I feel it involves a lot of sweeping, and that's the other thing I want to focus on too. Off balancing and sweeping. I feel that it's that right there it's tough to learn how to do that because you really got to time it, and you got to make sure you got your mechanics in place. Just simply just stuffing the arm before you sweep someone so they can go in that direction. They can't base out or whatever. Simple like things like that. Because when you're rolling, and it's a totally different concept because you're like, oh, I can sweep it this way, but then when you do, he puts his hand out all because why? You didn't secure the arm. And
that's the interesting thing about things like open guard and guard passing is that like it's really hard to do a move, right?
Yeah.
You can do moves, but to set up those moves usually requires like this really open dynamic situation where you don't really need
absolutely
anything.
Absolutely. So because of my nose surgery going on, I'm going to really focus on coaching. So I plan on going to Grappling Industries, got some guys, they're going to be probably competing. I'm going to help coach. So for right now, for this whole year as a purple belt, I am going to focus not strictly on just coaching, but becoming a better coach and be a stronger coach that people can depend on. So, but after that, after I heal, I do want to start training for like a Pans or a Worlds. So it'll be it'll be my first one. So if I lose, I don't care. I'm going to keep on going back because I feel Worlds and Pans are just like Grappling Industries, really local tournaments where if you keep going, you're going to eventually win a match. There's no way around it.
Yeah. And then really all that matters is when you do eventually get to like maybe a bigger tournament where it could potentially actually raise an awareness to your profile, right? Like people may actually be like, oh, like that guy is good. Like those, I think, are like the real matches and tournaments where like when it really matters, right? But I think for now, like all the local stuff, like the reason why I even like made posts about it and like wanted to talk about it was because and not only myself, but I just think people in general, like we just overthink the hell out of like tournaments that honestly don't matter. Like they matter, they kind of don't in a sense of like it's not gonna like no if you lose, no one's gonna be like, oh, that guy sucks. And if you win, you're gonna get some high fives. It's gonna be cool. It's gonna feel good. But then the next day comes around and you're back to training.
Yeah, exactly. Like after, no one cares really. About your turns, maybe family. You know what I mean? No one cares.
You're close, yeah. Like you're close.
Yeah, you're close circle, but that's it. People that are out there like just watching, like that don't even know you, they don't care. They're like, oh, he won his match or he lost his match. Who cares?
These are kids everywhere. Like people have like the like,
yeah, exactly. So yeah.
And like no one's gonna stop loving you, like just because you won a grappling match, right? I think that like there could potentially be a lot of resource of like winning matches and placing if like the idea is to maybe be a coach somewhere. I think that can be good, but I think that you placing will naturally come just with more experience. At least that's
what I'm saying. Absolutely. The more you compete, the better you're going to get. Just if anyone's out there having an issue with competing and you're just losing, I lost a lot of tournaments, but I ended up eventually started winning. You can't stop. You cannot give up. You just got to keep doing it.
Yeah. And I was just going to say, as we like wrap up on the hour here, are there any, like, is there anything that like maybe you want to say to any, maybe like even like training partners that are watching or white belts, people that are newer, maybe people that want to compete? Like, is there anything that you specifically like just want to get out there?
Just don't stop. We're all white belts. You just cannot quit. Chris Holler said, it's not who's good, it's who's left. And that's all that matters. You slap bump, you roll, you're going to get better as time goes on. Everyone is on their own journey. You just, dedication and passion. And that's all you need. That's all you need to focus on. And the rest is history. You just got to keep going and competing if you choose to compete. And if you don't choose to compete, that's fine too. Just keep going to class, learn more jiu-jitsu, and be able to and love it, because it will change your life. It's changed my mental health. It's changed my health physically, and it changed my life better. I was a very high strung person. Now I'm not that anymore, and I'm so happy that this is in my life now. I can't get enough of it. So
that's what makes jiu-jitsu like just so addicting. It's quite interesting how everyone's like, when you do jiu-jitsu, especially if you're in a positive environment, just like how different the way that you approach life becomes.
Yeah.
Like, the things that you worry about are like mostly stupid and don't actually matter. Right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's made my job better too. Like it's gotten me to a point where like I even see it in my job. My boss is giving me like projects that normally I would be like all nervous about, but now I'm like, I got this. What do you need me to do? So it's bleeding.
What can you do that is worse than someone trying to kill me? Really?
Yeah, exactly.
I want to just leave off on one thing too, which is I think what's really cool about like jiu-jitsu for me is like when I was first getting into it, like and at this point now being 2-stripe blue, is like this was like the first thing that I was ever able to like sit down for 3 to 4 hours, not sit down, but like 3 to 4 hours where you just do one thing. You don't check your phone, you don't bullshit, like you just train. It was like one of the first things for me that I was able to actually just like enjoy for 3 to 4 hours. And now I've noticed that in other areas, I'm just like 1,000 times more patient with people, with work. I'm looking to go back to school, and I never thought I would ever say that. And I'm like looking forward to it because I know I can do it. I know I can sit down and focus because that's what that's done for me. I know that I can learn, right? Like I think jujitsu is a great thing to just learn how to learn, right?
Dude, that's exactly. I would kind of said it better myself. And honestly, before, I still got time. So if you want and have any more questions, go for it. But I was listening to your podcast. I was kind of checking you out and seeing what little podcast, what are episodes you had, and you said that you're a guard puller, right?
Yeah.
Because like you're not.
I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you a video as to why after this.
Okay. So I was like, okay, I was kind of the same way, like where I couldn't do any. I wasn't very good at takedowns at first, but have you ever thought about a sacrifice throw?
Have I thought about it?
Yeah.
The way that you would like, let's say, grab like the sleeve collar and you have like a foot on the hip and you toss them overhead.
Mostly, no, not well. I mean, you could. That's.
Or you're saying like a version of.
Like you grab the collar, you grab like back of the elbow or whatever, and you literally you push them, and then they push into you, and you use their momentum, and it's like you're kind of tossing them to the side, but you end up putting your foot down so they have kind of like something to kind of trip on, or just off balance them with, and then either you get a side controller mount, and if it fails, you have close guard.
Yeah.
Because all you're gonna do is just sit down, and now you can play your close guard game.
Yeah, this is actually really interesting that you brought this up because I'm actually studying right now the Feet to Floor series with John down here, and he talks about pulling guard with an intention. He says like you can do it passively or you could do it aggressively.
Yeah.
I always was just let me just get to bottom position and go. But I always find that like when I pull guard every time, like people just like they sprint away. And they might try some bullshit at first. I kind of actually want to try to get into like sitting down with an arm drag or like sitting down to butterfly, sitting down with a grip, right? Like actually making it a little bit more aggressive. So actually, yeah, that is something that I'm actually trying to do more of.
Yeah, for sure. I've done it. That's how I actually won a lot of my matches at my last tournament is that throw.
Yeah.
I would do a sacrifice throw. I would immediately get on top and stay on top. And ended up finishing all my opponents with, by just staying on top. So I immediately heard that, and that was the first thing I'm like, I got to ask about that, see if he's ever thought about that for sure. Because if you can get that, man, you don't have to pull guard anymore, and then people won't make fun of you.
Yeah. So that's actually what I was about to go into was like what do you think about that idea of like pulling guard, right? Like I think. I want to give my opinion too. Like, I think that firstly, I think people need to learn to just stop being fucking judgmental of what other people's decisions
are. I agree.
Okay. I think a lot of people that complain about guard pullers, they can't pass guard. I said it. Like,
it's out there.
Problem, right? If the guy pulls guard, it should be good for you, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's like, so basically what happened was, and why I decided to start doing it was originally I started to learn, one time I was like eating halal food with Rob Deagle from DDS, and he pulls out this sheet of paper and we're getting ready for this tournament, right? It was like a good fight, white belt, right? And he's like, okay, so you know the 4 stages of jiu-jitsu, right? The 4 steps, they say like take the opponent down, pass the dangerous legs, acquire position, acquire submission, I think is like something to the effect of like what Brazilian jiu-jitsu is. He says, but there's another way. There's a 2-step, pull guard and submit. And I was like, okay. He's like, this is good for short-term success while focusing on takedowns is good for long-term success, because he explained it as like, there's all these wrestlers and stuff like that. You might get sandbagged really easily, which is I see all the time. But actually what winded up happening was I did a tournament where and at this point I wasn't pulling guard. Like I had the same type of feeling of like not pulling guard. And I wasn't really that good at wrestling. And I went against a guy who was really good at wrestling. And he did a duck under to a head arm stand up. And I didn't really.
Oh, wow.
And he did an outside trip. And I literally just like plopped back. And I started getting a huge and I got a huge spasm from my neck there. And thankfully I didn't have like a herniated disc or anything like that. I knew a physical therapist I was friends with. He gave me an adjustment and I was able to make a full recovery. But if I didn't know that physical therapist, I would have been screwed. It was so bad. And when that happened, I was like, what am I, and then I started seeing like some of these crazy injuries that people get at like white belt, blue belt level of people just like spazzing out on the feet, like, and people just falling on top of each other. And I was just kind of like, honestly, if you want to think I'm a pussy, whatever. I'm going to just pull guard. We're going to do jujitsu. And when I do go, I'm actually wrestling. I wrestle once or twice a week. And eventually when I am going to start getting into like more ADCC style training, I'm going to be doing stand up. So
hats off to you, for real. That's awesome, because dude, ADCC, that's no joke. They're serious over there too. That's a tough tournament.
Yeah, obviously that's not going to be like tomorrow. That's definitely like my long-term goal. But yeah, so what are you like? What were your experiences with like guard pulling takedowns and stuff in competition?
Like, so I told my coach one time when I was getting Scott, I was like, hey, I don't really feel really comfortable with my takedowns. I just don't feel like they're up to par. He's like, well, pull guard. He didn't quit. I'm like, all right, you know. So when I started kind of pulling guard and started getting into people in my closed guard, I felt more comfortable. I put my mind at ease, saying, oh, okay, this is a lot easier than trying to do a single leg and then get stuffed. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah. And like, you know, when you're there, you're like, okay, like I'm probably not going to get hurt.
No, yeah. I have no problem with guard pulls. If you want to pull a guard, go for it. You know what I mean? Like, because of bigger guys, I'll pull guard on bigger guys, because if I can't get them down, there is no way I'm gonna try to even like waste my energy on that, because I gotta fight to get through and try to submit this guy.
Yeah, I think it's kind of incredible how some people can hate on it, but it's like, guys, we're doing a jujitsu tournament. We're not fighting. We're not doing a self-defense situation. We're doing a jiu-jitsu tournament, like a ground-based grappling art. Like, let's just do it. In my opinion, like if someone pulls guard on me, it's fine, because I'm just going to work guard passing.
Yeah, exactly. Dude, hey, I wanted to tell you, have you ever been knee barred before?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So my second last tournament, the one that I lost a lot of my matches at, I was going up against this guy. He was 170, 6'5". I swear. Well, that was over exaggerated, but he was like 6'2".
Tall as hell.
Yeah. So he ends up, I had him in nogi, and he ends up getting me into a position where he had my leg, and he just knee barred the living hell out of me. And I'm like, oh my, I really thought my leg was just gonna snap off. So and he was just so long that like I couldn't get past his guard. Like every time that I would try to like control an ankle and like try to like do a Toriano pass of some sort, here comes another leg. I'm like, man, this guy's got legs there. I thought he was a spider.
Fuck, dude.
Yeah. For sure. So
like, I mean, going to like a ball like this, like I'm very flexible, so you can do like that, right? Like that's what you're talking about.
Yeah. His guard retention is super sick, and but I learned a lot with him too. He was a really nice guy. So he drove 8 hours just to come compete, just to grab an injury. Yeah. So hey, you know what? I look at it this way: he deserved that win, because he drove that far for it. So he well deserved for sure. So,
are you? Do you guys do leg locks at your gym?
Yeah, we do. We go through them. We do it so we know how to defend them.
Of course.
So, like, you know, for like white belts, blue belts. Well, blue belts, they have like heel hooks. Like we went over heel hooks. Now, me, like I think now that I'm purple belt, that should be when I compete, I think heel hooks are going to start happening. But before that, we were being taught how to get into them, and how to apply them safely, and how to actually defend them when it does happen. So yeah, and actually leg locks have actually been actually added to my my toolbox now, because I roll with this other purple belt now. Me and him kind of got our purple belts around the same time. He got his before mine, before I got mine, but his name is Dylan, and a super nice guy, and he is all about not heel hooks, but like toe holds and like knee bars and stuff like that. Yeah, just leg locks in general. And so I started incorporating that into my game, and now I'm starting to like catch like toe holds and stuff like that too. So I'm like, that is
oh my god, awesome. It's so much fun.
It really is. I told, I'm like, I can't believe I've been messing out this whole entire time.
Yeah, well, that's cool on your end because that's exactly what like a coach should be doing. I think is like teaching,
Yeah,
like, okay, this is what it is. It could break you, right? Let's not be stupid,
yeah,
not know the position.
yeah,
Here's how you defend it, right? Because I think that like there's still like that weird feeling towards leg locks that some people have, where it's like,
yeah. People are
oh,
scared of them.
or, yeah, or they're scared of them, or they feel that it doesn't work when we know it works. Like you see people
Yeah,
all the time. But I think that there's an irresponsibility if you're not knowing leg locks, and then someone like maybe an outside gym goer, or you go on vacation and you go to a different gym, or you go compete.
yeah,
All of a sudden, someone's slapping on your leg, and you're either
yeah,
tapping way too early when it's like shouldn't not even necessary, or you're just getting broken because you have no idea
yeah,
where the like the edge is of like, okay, when
yeah.
should I tap, when should I not?
Yeah, exactly. Like I'm still kind of looking at that, looking for a thresh. Because if Dylan puts a toe hold on me, I tap right away. I haven't really figured out the threshold yet. Can I hang on a little bit? Because him and I will be like, I'll have a toe hold on him, he'll have one on me, and like he gets his before I get mine because I'm just like, oh, forget it. It's because it hurts, you know. But like I see guys in toe holds all the time, and they're just sitting there and they're just getting their ankle just cranked. I'm like, how are you sitting there? And just
You gotta
not
watch
tapping.
my last match. I hit a toe hold. The bristles of his foot, like right above, it just
Yeah,
completely popped. I have no idea if it broke, but
yeah,
he limped off. He put ice on it. I winded up eventually getting him into a knee bar, and that's how I got the finish. But
yeah,
like, they definitely work. First off, and I think that a big thing that helps with the leg locks is the ability to like relax your legs. Like I see a lot of people when they get like the toe gets grabbed or the heel gets grabbed and they kind of like tense up, and
yeah,
now you have a higher risk of injury. But there's a sense of like when you become when you know, you're going to start doing it more, so you're going to become more comfortable with it. You can kind of just like no expression, no emotion, just kind of like watch your foot get torqued, and you're like, oh, I'm fine because I'm relaxed.
yeah,
Straighten my foot and defend it or whatever. Like,
yeah. I wonder if it's more of a mental thing than a physical thing, you know?
obviously, don't like. I don't want to
Oh
hear
yeah.
back from you like, hey man, I got my toe. I'm like,
Yeah, yeah.
relax, it didn't work.
Thanks, man. You just broke my foot. No.
Yeah, that would suck. That would be not good.
No, but yeah, no, I totally. It's good advice. You know, just sit, relax, and just But how do you do that when you're like in the midst of like rolling around trying to get his foot when you're getting, you know what I mean? What like
Yeah,
with toe hold?
I think that comes down to like who your training partners are. Like if they're snapping it on real quick, it can kind of be like, okay,
Yeah,
tap, right? But I think
yeah,
if you find like one of your buddies that like you guys just like drill all the time, like, hey, like
yeah,
grab this toe hold and start applying it slowly. Like let me feel it. Like I got lucky because
yeah,
the first time I ever really started to understand the threshold of breaks, there was this super fight invitational going on in Long Island. And I was there with Rob, and he had a match, and he was doing heel hooks on me to like drill and warm up for the match. And I was tapping, and he was like, he's a funny guy. He's like, Jason, are you sure this is going to break you? Like, I need to make sure that this is going to work. And I was like, all right, do it again. I had to like meditate, like
yeah,
to feel like what's going on. And it was really interesting because when I let him go a little more range and I just tried to like breathe with it, I was like, and I trust him. He's not going to do it quick. He's doing it slow, right? Like he's still working with me. It was interesting as he gone. I was like, there is like a 2 to 3 second panic tap of where like,
yeah,
I'm fine. There's no danger.
yeah.
And I'm still tapping. And that was, I was definitely very lucky to have that experience because I didn't get broke.
Right. Yeah.
Mm.
The one thing that the one leg lock that as soon as it gets put on, I tap right away because I'm not confident my defense is heel hooks. I'm afraid I'm gonna roll the wrong way.
Yeah. Even now, like if I go against someone who's like obviously more advanced and they grab that, it's like you're talking like this, right? The only reason why I was able to really understand that is because he was doing it slow. That's why I was saying like I think it sometimes can be helpful if like you go through the break a little bit and like see what's going on slowly.
Yeah.
But man, if someone grabs my heel and they got the hip locked in, like
yeah,
checkmate.
yeah. And what's kind of funny is this: a lot with like joint manipulation, a lot of people, I feel, kind of miss out on this, where you have like an arm bar, and you think it's like just the elbow, right? That that is getting it's getting like submitted, but it's the shoulder. You gotta lock in the shoulder
And kind of like your shoulder and pec.
Yeah. So you have to lock in the far joint in order for your submission. Yeah. And I think, I don't know, sometimes I feel like some people just don't know that, or maybe it's just me, maybe I didn't know that, and I'm starting to realize maybe some other people they don't really focus on locking in the far joint in order for your submission to be actually effective. Am I wrong? I don't know. Like, yeah, you know what I mean? So when you said, I was gonna say, when you said he had my hip, I'm like, well, yeah, that's, to lock, to put the submission on. So I think it's the locking of like the hip or whatever, and then like he'll be able to torque, because if you can move your hips, he's not gonna be able to torque that.
Yeah, well, it's the same thing with the arm bar, right? Like if you don't have the shoulder lock, you can roll with the tension and eventually get yourself out. And it's the same thing with leg locks.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. If the hips can move, you can move. That's how I look at it. So.
Yeah, that's a really good point, having the lock on like the secondary joint in order to actually get the break, right? Because it's all about the position of it, right? Like I'm definitely a big believer of like, if you can catch a submission on somebody in the most slow and controlled fashion, where like I'm submitting you and you can't move around, then it's done correctly.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I really do. When if I'm doing an arm bar from like mount or whatever, I won't apply it, because I want to feel that control. You have to be in control of your submissions. If you shouldn't just yank on it for no reason if you don't have control, because they're just going to slip right out of it. If you let them squirm a little bit, try to get control, try to get them to feel that helplessness almost, you know what I mean? And then that way also, if you got them in control, you can make your adjustments. If it's not like if the elbow is not like in all the way, like it's like you need to move your hips down in order to expose the elbow to get better leverage. But if you have that control, you can do that. And honestly, they're more panicky than you
are. 100%. Yeah. Do you do anything outside of jiu-jitsu that will you do this resistance, like exercise, nutrition, studying, watching matches, whatever?
I run. That's pretty much it. That's all I do. Like if I'm getting ready for a tournament or something, my cardio is what carries me a lot. And like I don't get tired very easily. Other than that, no, I don't really lift weights or anything. I probably should, but I probably
like kettlebells.
Yeah, I think kettlebells would probably be a good way to go. Not dumbbells or anything like that. So
it's easier. Like it's you have family, we have a job, right? Like, you got other obligations. Like the kettlebell is nice because you can just do like a full circuit of strength training in like a half hour and get like a really good workout. Especially if you're gonna be off with the nose, man. Oh damn.
Yeah. I'm probably gonna
that deep sweat that you get in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, because I'm gonna go crazy. I need jiu-jitsu for my mental health for sure, because it helps me, it calms me down, and I need it for an outlet. So yeah, I'll probably start running again. Until I'm done healed up and ready to go roll again. I need that exertion for sure.
Yeah. Do you do any like match studying, or do you watch instructionals?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I watch a lot of Chewy from Jiu-Jitsu. I watch a lot of his. I do have Danaher's guard retention and closed guard series.
Nice.
Dude, they are amazing. Highly recommend.
Going further, faster ones.
Yeah, and he breaks it down so easily, and it's fixed my game so much. And I think that's how I got my closed guard to be where it's at now.
You need an affiliate link or something. Freaking tell people to go get it, But they freaking deserve, man. Those they speak for themselves. Like they work. Like watching the instructionals, like.
Absolutely, sure, absolutely.
Right away.
Mm-hmm.
I have the first one. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, I was gonna just say like the first one that I ever watched, and I think that like if anyone wants to start watching an instructional, it was I like the guard retention one, but I didn't watch the guard retention one, but I think that would be a good first for some people.
You should. Yeah. Or if you haven't watched it, I think you should. I think you should watch it because it is a lot of good stuff for sure. And anyone that is just starting, yeah, that would be definitely one I would suggest for them to watch right away.
That's dope. But the one that I watched was the pin escapes and turtle escapes. And
I heard about that.
it like saved me. Like when I say
Really?
well, so like I said, like the first gym I was at, it was kind of just like random technique being shown. And like a year and a half in, like I really had no fucking idea what I was doing. Like I didn't have anything of like, these are my go-tos. These are like, things were just kind of like happening out of like thin air. And I remember like one of the most frustrating things was like bigger people just like passing the guard, getting in side control or mount, and then they just hold you there and you're just like, oh my God, like this is so, it kind of gets frustrating after a while, right? And I started watching that, man, and I just started becoming like an escape artist. Like it worked so well. It was the first thing that I was like, oh wow, like watching videos helps you get better.
Absolutely. It's still training, just mentally.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna have to look into that because that sounds really exciting. Because escaping is half, honestly, when you're on defense, obviously it's half the battle. Sometimes those escapes you think are gonna work, sometimes don't. So then you just wasted a whole bunch of energy if you don't know how to do it. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. So I actually might look into that. Get that.
They also, I know Dana here just made a new one too. It's like the new wave of escape or something, some fancy name.
Sure, he's got so many.
Yeah, he's got like, they're like always recording instructionals. It's actually hilarious when I see it, but they're probably making money, so good for them. But
oh yeah,
they did. I think that was more of like a no-gi submission escapes, and I did watch the Gary Tonin exit the system, and that was about submission defense, and I think that was, I think like, well, let me ask you, like, what if you could go back to being a white belt and put your attention somewhere specifically that you knew would help you in the long term? Like someone's watching now, they're like it could be 2 weeks to like 6 months in. What do you think is like the most important thing for them to focus on? What would you tell yourself?
Oh, myself? Guard retention, because I didn't know guard retention at all when I was at a white belt. I didn't know how to get my feet in front of me or how to keep people, from passing my guard. I was always getting my guard passed so easily. So guard retention would definitely be it. And I think I would have also started off right away in close guard because you're going to be on your back anyways, so you might as well defend and fight off your back, and then eventually get your top game going once you feel comfortable and you're starting to actually make moves in close guard.
No, it kind of makes sense too, because that's realistically where you're going to find yourself as a
absolutely. And if you start sweeping people, you're going to be on top naturally anyway. So then when you're starting to sweep people, like a scissor sweep or a pendulum sweep or a flower sweep or whatever, you're going to be on top, and then work on your top game when you start achieving those sweeps.
It's incredible thinking like, where would I put my focus if I was a beginner? And like, wow, if I did it the right way, I can't even imagine where I'd be 6 months in versus where you actually were 6 months in.
Yeah, knowing that I'm a purple belt, in some ways, I do feel like I'm still behind on technique and everything else. You know what I mean? But also, I got to remember too that like, some of these guys that I'm training with, especially now at 360, they're training every day.
Well, what makes you think that you're behind?
Just like simple, just like not seeing simple things to help, like especially like sweeps and stuff like that. But I think we all feel that way though. I mean, I'm sure there's a part of your game where you're like, man, I wish I was better at this or blah.
Oh my God, man!
You know what I mean?
All the time. It's like,
I
think we're always like our worst critic, right? Like we're always our worst critic. And it's funny. I'm sure you've experienced this. Like you might there might be like just certain individuals that almost like praise you for like, let's say how good you are, right? And they might be like a white belt or blue belt or whatever. And then you like will look back at like some of your matches and then just be like, why do people even think that I'm good? Like,
Yeah,
like
exactly.
I have to look at like stupid mistakes, but I think that that's just like part of it, right? Like black belts will leave their arm out and get arm barred, and they're just
That's
like,
what I'm saying. Yeah, leaving your arm out. I still do that. I'm like, man, as soon as I get like, if I'm like trying to like put up a frame and I get my arm isolated, I just roll my eyes myself. I'm like, why'd you do that? Now it's isolated. Nope, here comes the submission. So I was like, come on, man, you should know better.
yeah, man. Oh my God, it really is like that.
Sorry, I have a phone call coming in. Hold on a second. All right, I'm back. Sorry. Oh, there we go now. Sorry about
Let's see. So, I think that's like a lot of the questions that I wanted to really like. These are like this was like really awesome. We talked about a lot of awesome.
that. Good. Hey, first time ever doing this, so I was like, man, I hope I'm getting good answers and stuff like that. Like, I'm like, you're like asking me about my past. I'm like sitting there like, oh man, it's been 5 years. Yeah, it's a little spotty, but yeah, I hope I gave good content and good advice, and it was worth your time.
Yeah, for sure. No, I've been doing the podcasting for a bit, and I've been growing a little bit of an audience on like Facebook and stuff. So it's actually something that I really want to just.
Dude, yeah, congratulations on that. Yeah, congratulations on that, man. Because that's huge. People are doing podcasts and whatever else, but like, so I feel like you're just like, how long have you had this podcast?
So I mean, this is episode 20.
Oh, nice. So it's been a while.
They were kind of just like this time around, I really want to get it out there because I think that I actually bring something interesting to the table. And that's the idea of looking back, reflecting, what was it like day one? What inspired you to even start? And like go through the rankings, like what were the emotions, what were the feelings? I think that it elicits a lot of like productive talk, not just like, what do you like for breakfast, dude? Like,
yeah, absolutely, yeah. Yeah, I give a lot of people credit for just starting it because it can't be easy because you got to come up with questions, you have to edit this, and then it's a lot of time behind the scenes, and I think a lot of people don't see that.
Yeah, I'm also lazy as fuck, to be honest. I love it. I'm gonna end the recording. Firstly, I want to just go ahead and thank the fact that it's 2021 and like everything is way easier. I'm literally the type of person that like, if I have to like spend a deep amount of time on it, I feel like I'm not doing it efficiently. So like literally all I'm going to do is I'm going to clip out a little bit of the beginning, right?
Yeah.
Not the podcast secrets here. Clip out a little bit of the beginning, clean it up. I'm not even going to clean up the end because the end is going to be fine. And then I'm just going to upload it straight to YouTube. And it's like,
that sounds good.
You know what? Yeah. I prefer listening to, and I also prefer doing something that's like a little bit more uncut. Like, let's like have a good conversation and like kind of just see where it goes. Cause I think that if you kind of go into things open-minded, I was a personal trainer for a long time and like I did coaching and stuff. So it always became quite natural to me over time to like elicit conversation and stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah. Sorry. My father and mother-in-law just pulled it.
Okay, awesome.
Anyway, man, I was only I posted some of my matches on YouTube as well. I can send you the link to it so you can see my old matches and see what I'm talking about. So for sure.
I would love to. I'll send you I don't know if you ever saw any of mine, but I definitely want to send you the one where I got the neck spasm.
Oh yeah, dude. I would love to see it for sure. Absolutely, for sure. Dude, it's been fun. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity.
Yeah, of course, man. Thank you so much for coming on.